the impossible these days. It sometimes seems to be like the impossible, which is streaming through Facebook and all the other social media platforms. Is crazy these days. but but guys, welcome aboard. Welcome to our seven-figure mastermind group weekly training that we have for our VIP members. If you are unfamiliar with what VIP is, basically VIP is something that I've put together that gives everybody an opportunity to get to know me as a coach, as a trainer, as someone who's been in the business for 20 years. And I still actually lead generate. I was just lead generating on Monday, and I was using some technology here, which is one of our sponsors. And I'll show you guys who it is, which is Follow Up Beast. And basically, in using this technology, I was able to set 7 appointments without making a phone call. Where typically for me, I'm old school. I pick up the phone that way by picking up the phone and calling expired listings and for sale by owners. But I went ahead and I used this platform here. And for anybody who's watching, just go to followupbeast.ai. You can sign up for a free 14-day demo, and I'll share with you the automation that I created for this. And there's a lot of great stuff that's happening these days with the technology, with the AI. It integrates with a lot of other websites, whether you're using KW Command or you're using Espresso Agent or Vulcan 7 or the Red X, whatever it is that you're using, we can integrate it with those platforms so that you can be able to get more bang for your buck. And so with the VIP group, you know, this is an opportunity. We get a chance to connect every single week. People connect. After the training, we have a Q&A session. And every so often I have a special guest presenter to be able to teach us something of great value. And today's presenter is actually Eileen Nasadio, who is someone that I met, gosh, close to 15 years ago, right? Was it, Eileen, about 15 years ago we got a chance to connect?
10 to 15,
and,
yes.
Yeah, 10 to 15 years ago. And it's interesting. I met her at the Keller Williams in New York City when I was one of the agents there. I was already selling in Queens, Nassau County. And then I said, you know what? I want to go to where the big dogs are, right? I want to hit luxury. So I said, let me go out to New York City. And going into New York City, if anybody who's watching has ever sold real estate in New York City for the first time, if you can remember back when you started selling, it's like you see all these gigantic buildings all around you. And you're walking down the street, whether it's 6th Avenue, whether you're walking down, 5th Avenue or whatever it is, downtown, uptown, it doesn't matter. And you start to notice, where am I going to find business? It seems like everybody that's here is inside an office building. It's like, how am I going to lead generate? Where am I going to door knock? And it's such an intimidating market when you go into a city like New York City. And I'm talking about Manhattan. I'm not talking about the outer boroughs. But basically, it's one of those things that it just challenges you as an entrepreneur, right? So if you ever want to take on that challenge, that is a great place. And I'm assuming some of the other larger cities are very similar. But Eileen and I, we got a chance to connect in that market center and just talk about her business and all the ventures that she's been doing up until that point in real estate. And then later on, I started to watch her videos and her trainings that she would put on YouTube and she would put on LinkedIn and she would put on Facebook and all over social media. And I mean, the woman's traveled all over. She's worked for some major companies like Google. She's worked for Spotify. She's worked for LinkedIn. And when I say Google, I mean, if you guys ever seen that movie, The Intern, with what's it called? The Internship. It's like, look at the rigor that you got to go through just to get a job at Google. So right now, guys, we have a mastermind here in our presence. And as real estate agents, I want to be able to give you this opportunity to be able to ask powerful questions, guys, because we've done some of these trainings in the past and I've brought some great people. And sometimes I think we can ask even better questions because I want this to be a really powerful, interactive moment because real estate has changed everywhere. It has. I'm talking to agents every single day. I lead generate for agents to join, whether it's one-on-one coaching, whether it's group coaching or VIP coaching. And people are struggling out there. And most of it, from what I've noticed on social media, and Eileen, you can give us some more feedback a little bit later on. What I've noticed in social media is that more and more real estate agents are focusing on being supermodels, whether it's a man or a woman, and displaying basically a facade of the Lamborghinis, a facade of the beaches and the boats and all these other things. and this great success, but yet they can't carry a conversation when it comes to real estate. And it's painful because here's the reality that they're wasting a lot of time, they're wasting a lot of energy doing these things. They're not bringing practical value and information. If anything, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all these places, they become like dating websites for real estate agents. And if that's the goal, no harm, no foul. Go for it, do what you got to do. But there are people right now who are looking for sharp real estate agents who can educate, train, school them on what they need to do in a market like this so that they can come out ahead when the market shifts and the rates continue to go down and things shift in the market. So, Eileen, without further ado, rock star, I want to be able to get you on board and start sharing with the group. Welcome, and tell us a little bit about yourself, just a little brief explanation of who you are, and then we'll jump into some other Q&A questions, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you, Rob, for having me. I'm so glad we reconnected after, that time many years ago now. And hi, everyone. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you. I'm Eileen. And a little bit about my story. I call real estate like my first love when it comes to my career, because Rob knows through watching my journey, I have transitioned careers several times. I started in real estate, moved into marketing, until finally landed in engineering. So that was my most recent role. And so I have been able to keep real estate in mind while I was going through these career transitions. So I'm really excited to have this conversation about real estate from the marketing perspective, because now that I've gone through the journey of actually being, so when I was at Google, that's what I was focused on, marketing and branding. Storytelling specifically was like the role that I was assigned to. And so I'm excited to really speak about real estate from that lens. Although I didn't spend a ton of time in the real estate industry, it's still something that's very much present in my life, like through hearing my cousins and stories. He is a real estate agent as well, and he's done very, very well for himself. So hearing about what he does, and then also through my own home buying journey as I start looking into that for myself. So I'm really excited to dive in.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And for anybody else who's listening, guys, if you want to be able to jump onto the Zoom with us, just put #live and in the comments, and we'll go ahead and we'll send you the Zoom link and you can jump on board, because we're only going to be broadcasting this small portion with Eileen this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are. And then we're going to switch it to VIP mode. And if you want to be a part of the VIP group, this is your opportunity to put that #live or #replay and even #VIP in the comments so you can get the link. So one thing that I wanted to say before we jump into other questions is that I think people don't realize how important branding is. And with branding, great, now you have the brand, now you're getting the attention of the clients, now you're getting the attention of everyone else around you. And there's one thing, a disclosure that I'm going to put out there for everyone to listen to. If you do not follow up on the leads, then all the branding effort that you've made, all the energy that you've invested is for naught, basically. The purpose of us doing what we're doing is to generate activity. Every single one of us that's right here, all of us are running for president. Pretend that every single one of us is running for a campaign to become the president of the United States of America. So what are we doing? We're putting banners. We're putting signs. When we do open houses, we got balloons out the wazoo. We have so many signs in our neighborhood because we want people to vote for us when it's time for them to sell their house and when it's time for them to actually buy a house with us. But if we don't follow up on those leads, no matter how much branding we have, no matter how much marketing we do, we've got to follow up on those leads if we want to see results come through. Can we agree with that? Can I get an amen from people? Something, because that's just it. So I just wanted to say that because Eileen, you're going to drop some great wisdom on us, but I want people in the back of their minds to understand you got to follow up on those leads that you're getting. So let me ask you this question, Eileen. What is it that makes storytelling such a powerful tool for real estate agents who are looking to build their brand, whether they're brand new agents or seasoned? And here's the cool thing. Most of the people that are on here on Zoom are seasoned agents, which is awesome, right? Because as seasoned agents, sometimes we get stuck in what works. And if it's working and it's kept us in business for so long, hey, why change it? But then you start to see that there's a brand new agent that comes out of nowhere and starts branding themselves. and they just zoom past the seasoned agent. Tell us, what does that make storytelling so powerful?
Yeah. So yes, I 100% believe that storytelling is like one of the core basic human fundamental things that we have that allows us to connect with one another. So when I caught up with you the first time, like most recently, Rob, the first thing we jumped into, so tell me, what have you been up to? Essentially, that in and of itself is a story. And when I think about just the way we've grown up, when you pass down traditions and all kinds of things down to your children, you do so sometimes either through having them experience those traditions or through the forms of stories. Like our grandmother used to do this and X, Y, and Z. So to me, it's a tool that has been used for thousands and thousands of years. So with that fundamental understanding, when it comes to sales, when it comes to consumers making buying decisions, storytelling to me is very, very useful in my own journey because it allows people to connect with you on a more deeper human level. And especially if you're doing it online. So to me, social media, what that allows is for you to storytell, brand yourself, have a personal brand at scale. Especially if you do it consistently over the years, especially if you dedicate time, energy to building relationships and getting your name out there, getting your brand out there, then the scale is, yeah, there's no telling how far you can go. So to me, that's what makes storytelling super powerful. The ability to build, to connect with someone on a deeper level, on a more human level. And then you're able to take those stories, have people reach out to you, ask you questions in your direct messages, and you can build relationships and further the connection on there. So to Rob's point about following up, what a beautiful tool we have to be able to not only broadcast ourselves and our story on our social media channels, but to have people reach out to us in direct messages and build relationships even further. Mm-hmm. It starts with a story, but you have to pull it all the way through to a real relationship.
Now, could you walk us through the process of crafting an engaging story that resonates with potential clients? Because here's what I've noticed is if a person is moving into a new area, right? I was talking with a real estate agent yesterday, and she says she's up there in Albany. And many of the people who sell their homes in Albany, I mean, it's freaking cold up there. It's like I've seen upstate New York. It's like snow, 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 and more snow. And then when people sell, they're relocating to states like South Florida, or they're going to a North Carolina or Virginia. And if I'm an agent in, let's say, one of those relocating states, those huge popular states, every state has their niche. How can you walk me through the process of how I can be able to craft a great story that resonates with clients who may be wanting to relocate to those neighborhoods or to those areas? Like, how would I do that?
Yeah, the way I personally like to start is by an overarching theme. So what is the theme of the area that you are looking at? So for example, we speak about New York City. And when I think of New York City, I think of a place that there's, the hustle and bustle is a typical term people use to describe New York. But I also think about people coming here to build their dreams, people coming here to have access to literally everything, to have a multicultural environment where they're able to eat at a restaurant, an Italian restaurant today, and tomorrow, right next door, eat at a Chinese restaurant or Indian restaurant, literally anything. So I like to look at it from that perspective first. What is the overarching theme? And then thinking about it from the perspective of a target audience, right? So depending on the age range you typically work with, or depending on the mindset of the person. So are you working with investors versus are you working with people who are looking into residential properties? Because the story you tell will be different for both of those people, although they might be some similarities. So starting from that perspective, who is your target audience? You want to deeply understand who they are and why they would want to move to a city like this one. So that's the next piece of it, understanding who this person is, and based on that overarching theme, what will draw them into this city. And Rob, you and I had a conversation last week where we spoke about how cities have these narratives that are already built in for us. Because let's say, I think the video you showed me, it was talking about Las Vegas and the city itself. creates a narrative for you. So all you have to do is build upon that narrative based on your desired target audience. So another key part that I would say when I think about my own personal storytelling, but would be interesting to see how that is applied in the real estate space, is looking at it from like the problem/obstacle perspective. So what problem/obstacles are people facing when it comes to relocating to that environment? Or what do they not yet know that they need to know, so that they might encounter in terms of challenges? So keeping that in mind, that's where the value comes in. That's where the knowledge comes in. That's where providing this level of trust and know-how comes in, because you want to become that go-to person, right? That's what personal branding is all about. You want to be known for something, that people come to you for something. But in addition to that, you want to be able to solve people's challenges, solve people's problems, or their aspirations. So there's like problem selling versus desire selling. So if you're only appealing to the problems, that's one thing. But if in addition to talking about the problems, you're also talking about the desires, the aspirations, like New York City, the city of dreams, those two together, I think, are a killer combo when it comes to getting people not only excited, but in a state of being able to trust that you are a great person to work with.
Would you say that there's a combination, like 50% of one, 50% of the other, or 30% problem solving, 70%, solution? Would you say that there's a special formula that the Googlers follow? We won't tell anybody.
Yeah, I think it really depends, because when you think about certain brands versus others, some brands are more aspirational based. I don't know, let's think of the luxury brands. I don't know, let's go to fashion, like the Dior's or the Chanel's of the world. That's more like aspirational brand building versus I don't know, let's say a Target, where you have literally everything because, they know that their people are busy and they need to get their things purchased right away in one space. So those are two different ways of them using two different avenues. But I think there's no like super magic sauce, magic formula. I personally like to go based on who I am authentically. And if there's a problem I want to talk about, I speak about that problem. If there's a level of aspiration that I want to inspire in others, then I do that. I think, I wouldn't make it too much of a science, just so that you actually get it done, right?
Yeah, no, and listen, and that's me, man. That's my analytical mindset. I'm always chunking things down and breaking it down. But you're right. It's just, let's just get out there and do it. As you were talking, I was thinking about a couple of folks on here live in luxury areas. Like if you look at, I'll use Neil for an example because I know and love him, right? So Neil, I always love working with Neil. So when you look at Neil's in West Palm Beach. And if you look at West Palm Beach, guys, and statistically, it's like, I think the number one or number two most expensive city to live in the United States. Like it's pushed out California, it pushed out New York. And there's a lot of great things about West Palm Beach. And like you said, you have the chunk down information, which is, like the Target type information. I look at that as, it's walking distance to the park, it's walking distance to here, and so on and so forth. And then the chunk of values, which is, man, you go to some of the beaches in West Palm Beach, there's nobody there. It's unbelievable. If you want to go to the beach and over on Singer Island and you want to enjoy privacy, you'll get the privacy there, and you'll get great parking as well too. And the water's just as warm as it is in Fort Lauderdale, and I mean, not as hot as Miami, where you get sunburned because you're under a magnifying glass in Miami. But I mean, it's just so many great things to talk about. So if we look at Neil as a subject matter here, and those are the great things. You got great weather, luxury neighborhoods, you got new developments popping up. Like, I would love to hear, how would you do a storytelling around new developments?
Yeah, this is exciting for me. One, it's very interesting because just I feel like you were telling a story right now, first introducing Neil and then describing what he does and how then you could tie that into the question about new developments. But the one thing that stood out to me was your excitement. And I think that it doesn't have to be like anything unauthentic to you, but I feel like the excitement that you have, the passion that you have for what you're saying is very, very important. So I wanted to just note that and acknowledge that from your asking of the question, plus storytelling. But jumping into new developments, I find that very, very interesting because speaking about what we spoke about previously, there is going to be a natural history to any particular neighborhood. And you can use and leverage that natural history to your advantage when you're talking about new developments. So where was the city previous to where it is? And then where is it headed in the future? So I know there's like maybe things you can find online or people that you talk to who can tell you about what the vision is for that particular town, that particular city. And being able to tie those two things together. Where has that town been, but now where is it headed? And where do you fit in the current state of things? So that's the way I'd like to, when I think about new development, how I would really tie it all together. And specifically where things are currently is about the opportunity. What opportunity exists right now based on the gap between where you are, where the new development is today and where it's going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So that gap is very tangible. I wouldn't say necessarily tangible, but I would say it's very alluring. There's something alluring about that gap. There's something alluring about that opportunity that exists. So I would absolutely leverage that. And then new development, I who doesn't love great amenities and who doesn't, right? Like, so thinking about those things and how you can sprinkle those things throughout, kind of like you said, walking distance to X, Y, and Z thing, the park, or, you know, great school district, etc. So those little details can be sprinkled in throughout the story, but the main core part of the story can be the opportunity. That's only one way to go about it. I'm sure.
No, I love it. I know you got a whole bunch, and I want you to save all the goodies for our VIP session for our VIPs who have made the investment and are wanting to get some great value. But I did have a question in mind, which is, what are some of the common mistakes that you're seeing these days that real estate professionals are making when they're doing storytelling, or even when they're just trying to brand themselves with their branding efforts?
Yeah, I would say one super obvious one would be like, if you're not doing it, right? If you're not doing it, that's a missed opportunity. That's okay, because everyone finds business in a way that feels most suitable to them, their experiences. But there's a huge opportunity in being able to build a brand around what you do. So for example, I have a good friend of mine from back in college. We follow each other on social media, and several months ago, probably almost a year ago, he posted on his social media that he's starting a new social media page on Instagram for real estate only. So he's selling real estate in New Jersey. And I have been following him very casually because he's my friend from college. So I followed that new account just to support him. But what I have seen happen over the past several months is several of my friends purchased properties through him. I think it's one thing to say that they purchased properties through him because they were having conversations outside of social media. That's possible too. But I would imagine that the fact that he has built a brand around his real estate presence bolsters his credibility. It bolsters his draw, like the attraction that people might have to going with him, because they see what he does. So they not only see the properties that he's posting online, they are also seeing photos of the friends holding their new keys to their new home. So in terms of like common mistakes, one, not starting and not seeing the opportunity or not leveraging the opportunity. But another thing, I wouldn't say necessarily a mistake, but like I mentioned, I'm going to view this more in terms of missed opportunities, is just like only showing properties. So you don't want to become a Redfin on Instagram. You don't want to become a Remax on Instagram. You know, if people want to just look at pictures of homes and prices and all of that, they can go to Redfin, which has a beautiful interface. I can look on the map, filter by price and all of that. The thing that would really draw people to that is if there's a story behind it based on you. So, for example, if I were to dive into the New York City real estate market, I would probably build a brand or a story on like, I grew up in New York City. This is a town that I've seen it go through so many changes. I'm excited about its future. And plus, here are all of these 10 listings. So it can still
Mm-hmm.
work as long as there's foundation of you within it. So don't forget yourself if you're posting properties.
I love that. I love that. Are there any like tech, from the tech giants, are there any strategies or principles, from your time, whether it's at Spotify or at LinkedIn, or even at Google, that real estate agents can apply to their branding today?
Yeah. So let's see. In terms of my time at the tech companies, what I would say that I picked up most from my time there was being able to think of things in terms of systems. So if I'm
Mm,
creating content, how can I systematize the process? How can I templatize how I create content? So for example, Rob, you and I reconnected because I did a YouTube video. I posted it on Instagram. I guess that's how you found the video, I'm assuming.
yeah,
Through
and Instagram, and then I went to YouTube and I started watching you on YouTube live. So that yeah, it came around from that angle. Mhm.
Got it. Okay. So I have several templates in that process, right? The first template was the thumbnail that I created for the YouTube video. I already have a pretty much preset way of creating those thumbnails. So I pretty much just copy and paste for the next one. And based on the theme, I change things up a little bit, change the words, change the images to fit the overarching theme that we spoke about earlier of that particular video. The next thing is that when it comes to the live video, once I'm on YouTube, I have a template for how, what I need to create, the assets, the title,
Mm,
the thumbnail, the description, and then the script that I use. So as I am creating my idea for this video, I know I just need to drop things in. As ideas come, I go to the page, drop it in. So that's one huge thing that I took away from being at these tech giants too. You want to create a system that supports you. So you don't have to, you know, reinvent your process. You have a process in place and it makes it so much easier, especially if you're a busy real estate agent, you're handling listings, clients, relationship management, all of that. You want to make this process of being on social media or telling your story, branding as simple as possible by creating a system. Um,
hmm.
yeah, there's more I can say, but I'll
No,
leave it to you if you want me to.
no, that's totally cool. I love that. I love that. Now, with everything that's going on today with the higher interest rates, for example, how do you think real estate agents could use storytelling to engage clients in today's market, especially with the challenges that people are facing? And it's a mindset challenge. I think all of us are in agreement that it's a mindset challenge when it comes to the higher interest rates, because there's different ways and angles. But how could a real estate agent today use storytelling to engage these clients?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it would be really cool. Just thinking from the perspective of myself, now that I am in my own buyer's journey, my own buyer's process, like what stories would impact me. And from that perspective, if you have stories of a time in your career where there were elevated interest rates and people purchased, but let's say the house appreciated in a ton of value over the course of the economy, reshifting itself, then that would be a really great story to tell. So stories of other people who have been in that position previously and have come out on top. Um, let's see. Another way would be just in general, the decision to buy a home for me, and I'm sure for many other people, is an emotional decision, right? Like you want to purchase a home for X, Y, and Z reasons that are related to who you are, where you want to be, where you aspire being in your life at this current stage of your life. So what I would personally focus on in any kind of storytelling environment, especially when it's a slightly more complicated one where people are a little bit more fearful, is to really leverage those relationship building, connection building, storytelling skills that really focus in on the emotional aspects. So what I focus on when I'm telling stories is deeply understanding someone's motivations. So what are the deep motivations that your buyers or sellers have, and how can you appeal to those motivations in your storytelling? So I think this would be a really great way of figuring out what those motivations are, is talking to people. So talking to your clients, talking to people who have already closed in this environment, and understanding why they closed, what led to the decision for them to close, even with the elevated interest rates, and then picking out certain nuggets of wisdom that you've derived from those conversations and using them in your stories, using them in your branding, using them when you're talking to other clients who are on the fence and not sure 100% yet.
I love this. Well,
Understanding what moves to action.
right. No, I think this is great information. I trust that everybody is paying attention, taking notes, getting their questions together, because it's super important that we start doing things differently these days, and the storytelling aspect is awesome. I can imagine like agents like Leon, who's been in the business, I think, for 30 years now. He remembers when the interest rates were about 35% or something like that. So I'm sure he could share some stories of what it was to buy a house at 35% interest rate, or whatever the case might be. But for people who've been around for a long time, yeah, they could share it, and then they could people that there's people, whether it's parents or grandparents, that they tell the stories. Oh yeah, I remember when I bought my first house for $14,000 in this neighborhood, and look at where it is now, right? So it's a really great approach to be able to have that storytelling as an asset. And before we switch into VIP, I just got one question. And after the question, I want you to be able to tell everybody how you can reach you, because I know you have some classes that are coming up soon. So if anybody wants to reach out to you and get to learn more about the courses that you teach, and even any consultation that you offer when it comes to helping real estate agents brand themselves, you'll be able to share that contact information. But to close us out and get into the VIP session of the training, what first steps, should someone take if they had to just get started? Where would you have them start first?
Yeah, I would start by, if you don't already have your social media accounts, get those up and running. So choose a name, choose a platform. So Instagram is a great place, LinkedIn is another great place. And then choose a path. Like, what do you want to focus on? What's your intention here? Do you want to tell the story of your current clients who just recently closed? Do you want to tell your personal story? So deciding on which path you want to take and really listening in. So one of the things that has been very key for me in my life and my career as I build and make decisions, it's always about listening in to who I am and where I want to be in the future, and being able to take action based on those two things. Who am I today, and where do I want to be tomorrow? And what action is going to help me get there in the most authentic, the most pleasant way possible, and taking action based on that. So if someone wants to get started in terms of storytelling, you can start by literally telling your own personal story in the real estate space, and of clients who have recently closed. I think that's a great way to start. And I would also say that storytelling is such a natural skill for us, right? So if you look at children, they are telling stories left and right all of the time. This person did this, and then this happened, and then that happened. So it's such a natural skill. So I would say try not to overthink it in any way, shape, or form. Just create a plan in terms of the theme that you want to talk about. And then for the first time, if you're doing this for this first time, just talk for, let's say, 3 to 5 minutes. And then end it there. And you will get better over time as you continue in this process and continue seeing the results of it.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much for that. And for those of us who are watching right now, whether it's on LinkedIn, on YouTube, or Facebook, whatever media platform you're watching, how can people get in touch with you and learn more about your process and more chunk down details that this way people can get started with branding themselves? Go ahead and share your information. That'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm more than happy to share my email, which is pathevolutionnetwork@gmail.com. So it's PATHEVOLUTION and then network@gmail.com. So feel free to reach out there, or pathevolutionnetwork.com, which is my website. You can also check that out. But yeah, more than happy
Awesome.
to help anyone with branding, storytelling, making decisions when it comes to which path they want to take. I have a lot of fun.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much, guys. We're going to switch into VIP mode. And again, if you want to catch us every single week, we do trainings, and also you get the replays, and you get a private chat in the VIP group, and direct access to me and trainers directly after the training. Go to vip.robscoaching.com, vip.robscoaching.com, and sign up. Give it a shot. Give it a try. It's not anything crazy, nothing exorbitant in terms of investment for yourself, but it will give you the opportunity for us to connect